Well, we talked about honesty. I will tell you, I had 5 minutes to eat my lunch that my other half has been preparing for me. So thank you so much for doing that. Otherwise, I don't eat. And now I will be munching some apples until the 3 gentlemen will be talking about the topic. And I'm so happy to bring them up. This topic is very close to my heart. I love identity. I love everything about values. So we'll be bringing up 3 beautiful persons, beautiful souls. Andreas is with us for a long time already, supporting the community, showing up every week whenever he can. And I'm just super happy to have him. And we have 2 other people who are joining today. Jan is someone who have been brought up from someone who I know. So it's like kind of like a beautiful team for this today. And Marie is brought by Andreas. So let's try that out. We'll bring up Andreas first. Hi, Andreas. How are you today?
Yes. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to everybody tuning in already. It's my pleasure of being here.
Thank you so much. And now I will be bringing up the second guest, Marie, Andreas's guest. So let's try that again. We have a little echo, but we will fix it. It was going away previously when we practiced, so hopefully it will be fixed again. Hi, Mauri. How are you today?
Hi, dear Andreas. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. And I just want to share that I'm very grateful to be part of this event. And congratulations, by the way, for organizing this massive event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to have you here, and I'm really happy that all the 120 speakers are here and always on time and volunteering and Saturday and Sunday. So thankful, grateful, everything. I appreciate, and hugs to all the speakers who are doing this for other people. And then I'm bringing up Jan, and I see his wife is already in the super. They are the best power couple ever. I mean, when Arti is talking, then Jan is supporting. When Jan is talking, then Arti is supporting. What is that? Not that empowerment. So hi, Jan. How are you today?
Good morning, Andreas and Mauri. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and it's just after 7 o'clock in the morning here in sunny South Africa. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this 45 minutes.
Okay, let's try a special setup because we tried it in the morning with Brian and Nancy, and it looked very, very nice. So I will put you all 3 next to each other. Let's try that. I will leave the stage and you have 45 minutes. I will be popping up later. Thank you so much for doing this. And for the audience, enjoy, engage, and grow. Thank you so much, guys, for being here.
And welcome to the session, Crafting a Value-Driven Identity Rooted in Diversity. When I chose this topic a while ago, I didn't know the changes the world experienced ever since. I feel this topic has grown in importance ever since, actually. As we delve into this session, I want to start talking about values first before I introduce the 2 speakers that are with me today. Values, in my opinion, as an NLP trainer, are the compass guiding our decisions in life. They define what we hold dear, what we stand for, and what we prioritize. They are the driving force behind our actions. They dictate our behaviors, delineate ethic boundaries, and serve as a moral compass guiding our choices, my opinion. Diversity in my world is a value that should be prevalent inside of all of us, but it is not, I believe. And I believe it's imperative to cultivate the value of diversity within ourselves and in future generations. And why, you might ask, actually. Look around in the world. Our world has become more challenging. The world has become more challenging. Geopolitical tensions to environmental crises to economic upheavals. In the midst of all this complexity, we find ourselves as global citizens, actually, constantly in motion, whether in the pursuit of opportunity or in response to adversity, settling in unfamiliar territories and far from the comfort of the known. The journey into the unknown often triggers fear and discomfort within ourselves and amid our surroundings. People push back to someone or who's something that is different. It's our environmental instinct to gravitate towards a familiar, I believe. We want to, hold on, I gotta, I gotta check some of my text. It's supposed to be flying in here right now. Beautifully, yes, okay. Diversity is a value, as I just said already as well. So it's our survival instinct to gravitate towards a familiar. Following the saying, basically, that people like people who are like them. We like people who are like them. So, but it's only happening because diversity, we are fighting back against other people who are not like us. And it's only happening because the value of diversity has not yet installed inside of us. People fear the unknown. People fear the unknown. If something is unknown to them, they reject it often. It's about change oftentimes. If our upbringing supports a worldview, however, that appreciates diversity, adults appreciate differences, and tension amongst ourselves would decrease or decline. Imagine a world, all of you watching this here right now, where we embrace diversity, ideas, perspective that is not an exception, but a norm. How transformative would that be? Now, I haven't defined diversity yet. So what is diversity? Diversity is not deeply entrenched inside of us. And I want to quote Oxford University, because I think it's a very reputable source. And Oxford University defines diversity as a practice of quality of including or involving people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds or genders, sexual orientations, or religious backgrounds. Now, this all encapsulates the vast range that we want to explore here. Now, with me today, here right now, we have Professor Mori, an Italian living in Malaysia, and Jan Roberts, a Dutchman living in South Africa. These are two esteemed individuals who have global insights and experiences that they can share with us on this beautiful topic overall. Who am I? By the way, of course, you want to know as well, who am I? My name is Andreas, as you most likely could see already. And I'm a German living for about 30 years, plus in the meantime in Malaysia, running a company called Asia Mind Dynamics, where we are training people in NLP and hypnosis to help people change their mind, that's to become more open-minded. So let's get started in this beautiful session that we are in here right now. And let me invite Maury first to say something about yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? And what is the value of this topic to you? Maury, over to
Hi,
you.
everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea, for the introduction and the opportunity to yeah, I can hear my voice. Can you hear me well?
It's okay now.
Can you? Okay. Thank you. So thank you very much, Andreas, for the opportunity. And once more, it is just really amazing to be part of this Global Empowerment Summit. And it's great to see people gathering together to create values. For what concerns myself, my title, yes, as you introduced, Professor Maurizio Rosini, I'm the Ad Marketing Manager for French Private University. But what especially I'm doing in the last year and a half, I'm doing a lot of men work. And the way that I believe is very important to express my serve to the community. I do it through men's circle and men's retreat. I support men to get in touch emotionally with themselves, and consequently to be able to deal with insecurities, frustration, anger. And I just launched a program which is called My Master Man, which is going to implement next year.
You must have pressed the button. Maury, your sound is gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You're back.
Okay. So, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay. So do I need to start again? Do I need to start again?
No, you just the last sentence.
I launched a program, My Master Man, which is a comprehensive approach to one-to-one coach for men and for communities of men.
Andreas, you're muted. I can't hear Andrea or Andreas. You
Me too.
No. At least we haven't gone deaf.
No worries. So I think there is a system issue with Andreas, so I will ask him to fix it. And until Andreas is fixed and he takes off the studio, maybe it's better to make it simple because it's creating a huge echo and 45 minutes will not be enjoyable. I would rather just give the value. I would enjoy the conversation more. So I will give him a few minutes to set up the basic studio so that the echo is gone. And until then, you can log in, log out, Andreas, to fix it. Until then, I will just talk to the audience. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. And thank you, Jan and Maurizio, for being here. And I'm really, really delighted to hear about your background. And I wanted to ask a little bit, Maurizio, about your work with the men's circle. I think that's so important to have. And it's something that not a lot of people are doing, especially in Asia. So tell us a little bit about that before we get back into the topic with Andreas.
Thanks for the opportunity. It is an incredible journey. We started in Kuala Lumpur a year and a half ago. Not many people were believing in the projects, and it's really interesting to see how crossover. As you know, Malaysia, one of the beauty of it is a diverse community. So we have the Malaysian, the Bumiputra, the Malaysians, and then the Indians and Chinese, and we have, of course, foreigners as well coming. It's an incredible work where we learn together as a group on how to remove the fear of judgment. Men, they are genetically programmed, let's say, to overcome any situation without dealing with their emotion, just pushing ahead. And at the men's circle, we are learning together how important it is to remove any kind of self-judgment and to learn, first of all, to be very good listener, because we share stories of our life. As a man, we always been taught to be provider, so, and to deliver. It's very difficult, and I can see a lot of loneliness in every man's journey, because we see the sharing part, the vulnerability, as a weakness. Actually, it is a beautiful value. It is very powerful. And at the men's circle now, we have in the Kuala Lumpur chapter more than 80 men, and it's growing very fast. We were able to open a new chapter in Penang, which is up north, Malaysia, and it's growing very fast. And I can see more and more, actually globally, a lot of men starts to have the courage to speak up. And they understand that it's important not to feel lonely in this journey. And I always suggest to each man to give themselves the opportunity to try this experience. It's absolutely powerful and healing.
Thank you so much. And I think I will just ask also Jan about it. Like, what do you think about men's circles? Have you ever participated in one? And then I will give back the word to Andreas to continue on the values.
Yeah, well, no, I've never taken. Well, I've taken part in a men's circle, in as much as that I am a values-based leadership specialist, and I also did groups for men only. And that was very interesting, because I found out that, as Maurizio says as well, that when men are amongst themselves, they sometimes open up far easier than when they're in crowds, because I know that men hurt too. We always say, men have to have especially in Britain, the stiff upper lip, and we can't let other people know what they're doing. But being involved in these groups, and it was a group, I did groups of 10 people from different countries online, and it was amazing to lead groups like that based on basic human values, and the change in people and the opening up, because men. In fact, I was actually also part of a book. It's called Relationships for Men by Men, and it's exactly what Maurizio says. Men do want to open up. Men hurt too, and men have problems and challenges that most of the time they can't talk about, because yes, we have women empowerment, but Artie just wrote it there as well. Empowered women need empowered men, and and we need to work together, because if only we push one side up, then the other side is left behind. And men are we don't talk about it. It's there's nothing wrong with women empowerment. Don't get me wrong. I think it's necessary too. But let's not forget the men.
Beautiful addition and insights. I will give back the stage to Andreas to continue this conversation. Thank you so much for changing the studio setup. Have an amazing session.
You're muted, Andreas.
Of the technology today. I was praying that everything will be all right, but I think they are playing with me today. So Andreas, we can't hear you.
No?
Now
Yeah.
we can. Okay, let's go.
Woo. Let me be. This happens sometimes in a global environment. Never happens so often. Never happened consecutively in one session at one time. But at least you can hear my voice now. The voice echoing across the world. Of course, I'm not sure, Jan, if you introduced yourself already. Did you already have a chance to say something about yourself? Then I just hand over to you for a moment and say something about yourself for about a minute or so. That would be just fair.
That's fine. Thank you very much. And as you already mentioned, I'm a Dutchman in South Africa. And for me, when you introduced it so beautifully well about values and diversity, well, I used to be in the oil industry. First of all, the Netherlands are a very diverse country anyway, for starters. So I never saw any differences in people. I just saw people, and I love people. And then I started working in the oil industry, so I connected with people from Asia, from Australia, from Eastern Europe, from Europe itself, of course. So I had the pleasure of working with so many people from so many different countries. And because I started personal development when I was 17, I studied communication, leadership, and all, coaching, and all those kind of things for many years. And I had a chance to implement that every single day. And from there with values, a helicopter coming over at the moment. From there with values, I think they're also important because, as you said, if we don't have a value system, we don't value ourselves, and therefore we can't value other people, and that's where diversity comes in. So that's why I like what we're discussing here and what you've already mentioned. And as I said, I've been involved in the support of transformation of entire countries using values-based leadership as a base. So yeah, that's me.
I realize actually that in the summit and this group here, of course, we have the experience working with different people, and I think we are valuing diversity within us. Otherwise, you wouldn't live in a different country from our hometown, of course, But while you were talking, Jan, I just had the thought, that I believe actually that, and it leads a bit back to my introduction, that diversity is kind of diminishing in the meantime. I'm still following news, what happens in Europe, for example. We do know the conflicts in different countries overall. What do you think? Is diversity in the rise, or is it actually right now in the decline overall worldwide, globally? What do you think? Anyone who wants to say something? Professor Maury or Jan?
Maury?
Oh, thank you. Okay, if I have a wider perspective and I actually believe in times of struggle financially, economically, and geopolitically, as especially in Europe is happening due to the war in Russia after the COVID. I believe that the diversity is not seen as a value. People are getting more and more scared of either as individuals or as a community are scared about everything which is diverse and new because they feel threatened. And there is, as we can see, even politically wise, a lot of right-wings parties are getting more and more strength from East to West Europe, North to South. And it's quite normal. I mean, it's a quite easy reaction, actually, that the human beings have. That's why what we are doing right now, or there are many organizations that they are actually trying to empower people sharing the value of diversity. It's very, very important. So to me, I can clearly see that there is a lot of fear. I can perceive a lot of fear actually in the communities.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that. Okay, I would like to add to that, because I think the media has got a lot to answer for as well. Because, and I'm saying this because before I ever went to South Africa, my impression of what's happened here is that it was all between black and white. But it is so much more than that. So I stopped following the media itself a long time ago, because I make up my own mind. But so many people follow them blindly, and then they get fed one perspective usually. And this is one of the things I do. I bring another perspective to the table, because I think it's important not to be right, but to give that other perspective, because I'm a live and let live kind of guy. So if people still believe the same, but we need to have more discussions like this. We need to have open discussions, not arguments, because the difference between a discussion and an argument is motive. So if we come to the table willing to learn and willing to be wrong and willing to openly discuss things, that's when we learn about diversity. That's when we learn about the other person around the table. As Stephen Covey said, understand before being understood. And I think that's something that we become so insular, because we become scared, as you said as well. We become scared about what's happening, and we become fearful of speaking up for a variety of reasons. We even get banned from social media if we speak up. But we need to openly discuss this, and these discussions need to start at home. These discussions need to start in our own circles, but we need to have online discussions like this far more often, to tell people it's okay to feel the way we are. It's okay to think differently, but we need to respect other human beings for who they are, not their skin color, their religion, their backgrounds, their political affiliation, and all the other kind of things.
We need to look beyond their color or their religion. We need to, I'm always like to say, we need to see the diamond inside a person before we judge them. And in NLP, we say the map is of the territory. That means as long as I don't understand you completely, I can't evaluate you. And I need to respect you, not necessarily accept what you are saying or accept how you're behaving, but I need to respect you based on your upbringing, your behavior in a certain manner, the way you do here right now. Before you continue, I would like to give a shout out also to the audience, which is very engaged. We have Alshan, of course, as well. We got Sham here. We got Dr. Ahti here. We got Chaga here. We got Judge here. We got Grishan here. We got quite a lot of people here. So thank you very much for all coming here and participating so beautifully. I would like to ask a question for the two of you. And I think the discussion is really correct. We need more diversity right now. And people, as Judge just says, we fear change. So how was it for you when you moved to a different country? All of you were most likely a bit younger when you came to a different country. What happened within yourself once you touched base, be it in South Africa or in other countries, or when I touched base in Malaysia, Maury came to Malaysia. Before that, I was a long time in West Africa and Sri Lanka. So I had a lot of different experiences from different countries, but it was always a little bit of a, what do I do here in this country? Everybody behaves differently compared to who I was thinking before. At that time, internet didn't exist, of course, many times in many places that I visited. So I didn't have the chance to explore through the internet about different countries. So how was it for you when you entered a different country, and how did you make it happen to adjust yourself to different countries? Maybe appreciate diversity. Maybe Maury, you go first.
Very interesting. Everything to me, in order to accept others in the diversity, everything starts with a massive work of self-love. If we do not accept ourselves, if we do not embrace ourselves with our shadows and lies, if we are not able to be compassionate with ourselves, it's going to be absolutely impossible to recognize the beauty of another human being or another community. Doesn't matter the color of the skin, doesn't matter which God they believe. It's going to be pretty impossible. So in order to reply to your question, I was quite lucky because I've been taught to my family since young age. I was traveling, so I used to play in the former Yugoslavia when I was a kid with Germans, with Dutch kids, and there was no any kind of separation, when you are a kid. So it doesn't matter, I would speak Italian, the other guy Dutch or German, but we were understanding each other because it's just what, as a grown-up adults, that we are so indoctrinated and how can I say, so blind and full of fears that we start to see diversity and we live in a separation. For what concerns living abroad is basically do simply a work of letting go of judgment, understanding that there is not one truth. Doesn't matter if you are a Dutch guy or German. The beauty of put yourself outside of your comfort zone and see that, wow, it's interesting how they perceive life in Zimbabwe or in Alaska or in South America, and appreciate our identity. So where we're coming from, honoring always our ancestors, but being open, as John said before, being always open to understand that, the beauty of the world is because it's diverse.
All right, and Jan, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I already like what Mario said about young kids playing together. I mean, when they meet on the beaches of the world, they don't ask, "Are you Catholic or are you Protestant or are you one way or the other?" And they don't see color; they just play. And even though they don't have the language skills yet, they make each other understand what they want and what they need, and it's beautiful to see. It's everything goes kind of wrong after that, as Mario mentioned, indoctrinated. But I've had the pleasure when I came to South Africa. I'd been in many countries and lived in many countries as well. But when I came to South Africa, of course, I had the privilege that my wife, who's also on yesterday, Dr. Arthi Moore Roberts, she has been a diversity and equity and inclusion specialist for 26 years now. So I used to work with her in the training rooms as well and observe a lot, because there's 11 different languages here, and there's still a lot of issues, of course, after 1990 up until 1994, and they haven't been resolved yet. But to be able to understand some of the different cultures and to look at the background and to see what the issues are, because they came out in the training rooms as well. So I've had a wonderful experience, but also I love traveling anyway. So for me to meet different people of different cultures, and that's why I started to learn languages. First of all, I wanted to greet people in their own language. And I think that shows a little bit of respect, because as Arthi also said, it starts with a greeting. So if we can just even greet somebody in their own language, it shows that we at least try to meet them somewhere. Even though we don't speak the language, people appreciate the small things in life. It's not about, we all need to come together and sing Kumbaya and around the campfire and everything will be okay. No, we need to start taking small steps every day that we can implement and just greeting each other and try to understand each other. I think it goes a long way towards that first steps.
I think you said it beautifully. And recently we had a band Coldplay here, and they gained the heart of the Malaysian people by the singer was singing a song about rain in Kuala Lumpur or rain in KL and how he appreciates the rain in KL spontaneously. And as well, he was singing a song in Bahasa Malay. Just a short liner overall, but I do know other bands would just say hello, good evening, thank you very much in Bahasa Malay, the local language here, or the Malaysian language. And it's just beautiful how people respond to it. It shows the effort you are doing to assimilate yourself into the culture. So I believe nowadays, you mentioned social media before, media overall, Jan, before. Media messes up quite a bit, and you are very right, of course. It's always about our own inner initiative to make sure nowadays that we learn about a country before we go there. When I came to Malaysia way back in 1993, there was no internet. People in Germany didn't know much about Malaysia. They knew Thailand, they knew Singapore. So it's really amazing. Nowadays, you have the chance to go online and study as much as possible about a country without actually taking away the real experience later on and getting biased along what happens overall, but studying a little bit about a local culture and come here a little bit educated, not knowing everything, but to learn a little bit. Now, the thing is, of course, if you travel somewhere along that line, even though I know exceptions to the rule, if you travel, you should have an open mind already anyway, right? And that's the challenging part. People who have a lack of an open mind, they might not travel. They just stick into their own country ultimately. Now, how can you, Maury, I would like to ask you, as a next question, I think it's important overall, how can you ensure in your day-to-day life, and how do you act if something went wrong? How can you assure as a human being that your actions, your behaviors are somewhat in alignment with the local culture? Or, hey, if you mess up, I still mess up every now and then. How do you recover yourself when you suddenly mess up, when you are doing something against a taboo that exists in a certain country? Over to you, Maury. Would you like to answer that?
Yes, I try to be usually as a practice as much present as possible in my daily task. And if it happens that for X reasons I misrespect unconsciously someone and then acknowledge that, first of all, I apologize, and I try to forgive myself first of all. And it happens sometime. It happened like I think recently by mistake I touched the head of a kid with my hand, and in Asia, generally Asia and all Asia is not the best thing to do. But I was expressing a kind of tenderness for the kid, but then I realized that. So I look at the parents, say apologies. It just again it's a matter of being present and having even the courage to say I'm sorry when it's the case, you know. And most of the people they do understand. I believe just to follow up on the topic, once we decide to live abroad, is as you said, is a form of respect to try to understand immediately and and acknowledge that we are host by a country and a community. So we have to show them gratitude. And most of the time, to show them gratitude is to be very much respectful of their habits and their beliefs. Once we make a mistake, I believe it's just to ask, I'm sorry, forgive me for that.
Beautiful. What about you, Jan?
Yeah, and I like what Maria said already, of course, and I think it is my dad. After the Netherlands in the late 70s, I made a detour because first we emigrated to Scotland in the late 70s. I'm a kilt-wearing Dutchman, but it's
my the dance, right?
Well, yeah, oh yeah. But my dad, they asked him one time, you know, how come that he managed to integrate so well. He also loves people, and he said something that stuck with me. He said, you know, we are in this country as guests, and we should behave like that. You know, and that is something that is very simple, but and not always easy to do, because we go to different places and we act very out of character. And Mario said as well, as when we go to a country, we need to, and you mentioned it as well, to look up on the internet. I think also what if we can find people in our own country before we go somewhere else who come from that country, to go and speak with them and learn some of the things, because like for example, Muslim women, don't shake hands with them. That is really frowned upon, and like the hand on the head, and you know, it's simple little things that we take for granted in the West, and you know, I'm a hugger as well, so I hug anybody. I'd hug a tree, you know. But I mean, it's the thing is though that yes, we make mistakes. We are human, and there's nothing wrong with that, because that's how we learn. And unfortunately, the experience comes after the mistakes we make. So we just need to make sure that when we do make mistakes, make sure we don't do them make the same mistake too often, and that we learn and that, you know, we apologize. I love what Mario said as well. I ask for forgiveness, and you need to forgive yourselves first, and that talks into values again. There are certain values. My friend, the mentor Les Brown, said that leadership is failing around the world because of a lack of values. And some of the values that are really helpful with diversity are forgiveness, restraint, boundaries, respect, and listening. And respect and listening, I think, come very well together, because if we listen more than we talk, then we learn something about other cultures. And if we ask open-ended questions, we really learn. And so we need to respect other cultures. We need to and it's not only cultures. I mean, diversity, people sometimes think it's race and color and sometimes even religion, but even people with disability. You know, and it's not always what we see. It's sometimes these things. So there is a lot more to diversity, equity, and inclusion than most people even realize. So I think we should all do more research on you know, what includes LGBTQI, that whole range. That's also part of our diversity, and we don't understand it always. And again, the more we have conversations and open conversations, I think, and the more we learn, the less we have to apologize.
I like what you said right now about the guest parts and that leadership. I think is really a bump. Basically, leadership is failing because of the lack of rapport, lack of values. That was really, really, really great. interesting part was, you don't even know initially, and even now sometimes still, how often more initially when I came here, how often I was trying to shake people's hands, even women, and then I'm standing there and I was like, okay, my hand is hanging in the air, and what do I do next? But the interesting part is how easy actually Malaysians and the women then just move along, and it's forgiveness. It's not an affront. It's not a chaos happening. It's more happening inside of me. Oh gosh, what did I do here right now? And it's our own inner world that messes it always up oftentimes. What Maury mentioned earlier about self-love, about the forgiveness that we do have. We mess up. It's part of the learning. Dr. Ati was just saying it's part of the learning. Be curious. And I'm always saying, hey, I'm coaching many, many people about mindset overall. It's about, I can't judge somebody, or I can't help a person change, making the changes or evaluate them as long as I don't understand how do they look at the world. Why is somebody looking at the world the way they do right now? What makes them saying negative things about another person? What is really going on? How do they look at the world? What do they believe? How do they act? What is driving them? To discover what is the emotion behind some of the fear they might have when they are rejecting other people, other cultures. So here I want to ask you something, and I'm going to go straight to Jan, because we talked about it way earlier, and I loved it overall. How can you make sure? I mean, we are living in a world, we are living in Malaysia, Germany, or Italy, or wherever we are, and we have our biasness inside of us. That's normal. I think kids might not have it, but society is messing it up. School comes in, certain rules and norms come in. It's good because they're giving us a little framework of operating, but sooner or later, kids start to judge other kids, judge situations, picking it up from somewhere else. What are the steps we can take to create less bias and more open minds to people from other cultures, gender, backgrounds, ages, or political affiliations? What would be the 3 things we can do? 3 only, and then Maury is the same question.
Oh yeah, well, I mean that's a great question, and for me, I think the first time we mentioned it, all 3 of us have mentioned it. Have conversations. Don't keep it because we assume things, and you talk about our unconscious biases, which we all get from a variety, the media, our environment, our past, all these kind of things make us who we are right now. But we need to sometimes step out of our comfort zone and start having conversations. Then we need to look at our own value system, because what is our own value system like? I mentioned already, for me, values are the foundation of life, business, and leadership development. So we need to check our own value system, and what is it like? How can we improve on that? And do we have a value system? And if so, do we practice it? And that's when you get these values like respect and listening and those kind of wonderful things. And it's self-love and forgiveness. These are all wonderful values. And I think the third one is also have conversations in your own family with your children to make sure that they start to understand, because we are never too old to learn, never too young to teach. But I think in our families and our friend circles, we've been there, that the jokes were made in our own environment about other people and other cultures and all. We need to stop those kind of things. It's not funny anymore. Because if we do it in our circle, we might unaware do it outside, and we don't know how we upset other people. We don't know the hurt they go through, and then we do things that we cannot take back. So have conversations in our own family about what it means to what diversity, equity, and inclusion mean, what values mean, and keep this conversation going so they understand it more, because they get it nowhere else.
I want to before I come to Maury right now, answering the same question, I want to interject one thing. You mentioned discover our own value systems. Most people are actually not used to go inside and discover themselves. It's much easier to look at the world and hope the world would adjust themselves to themselves. So to add on to this one, I always believe like that when you feel discomfort inside of you, a fear inside of you, when you are disliking something or somebody for a certain reason, it's always about you. It's always about you. And it's always about then asking yourself the question, what causes me to fear another person? What causes me to fear the different opinion? What causes me to fear that somebody looks, behaves, acts differently? What is it inside of me that I can learn at that point of time to avoid, to gain a greater understanding of somebody who is different from us? That's what I would add on to this one, because so to say like it's discover our own value system, people don't know how to get started. So I think it's very good to identify when you feel discomfort, start where is it coming from? Is it really true ultimately? Maury, over to you.
Guys, I love this. And so I really love what is coming up. So following up Jan and Andreas, the way I see it is, I will start with the concept of identity. As an identity, I am Italian. I am Catholic. I am a white guy. I am. So identity itself is a form of respect, again, of where we come from, geographically, culturally, and spiritually. But the identity, if is driven by the ego, that I am, again, that's the ego when it speaks I am. The truth is just the way we see it. It's very limiting. And as Andrea is a super professional NLP mentor, is even my mentor as well, teaches that the reality we live in is just a bunch of data. According to our belief systems, we process those data, and consequently, we build an identity. And that's why I always teach, that's what I do with the men's circle. Once we broaden the vision and we zoom out as a little human being with our identity, I am, and we see things from a wider perspective, that one, the ego, disappears. There is the beauty of embracing where we come from, how we've been brought up in this life, how we've been educated. But then when I see it from a different perspective, I say, wow, that's interesting. Then let me understand with this Dutch guy how the family taught him to live. How do you perceive life? What's you driven out? So is getting out of our little shelf, our little human beings, and see things from a wider perspective. Doing so, we deal with the ego, we let the ego go out, and we can really then embrace the identity and the different identities, see them as a value, not as a limiting or threatening thing.
I want to stop asking my questions, and I also want to ignore so far the audience. My apologies for this, because there are a couple of really great comments here, and I'm straight away go into a one which I think is very, very, very important, and I want to expand on this one. And Dr. Arti is saying, like, how did you each of you challenge inappropriate conversations between genders in a social environment? And it's not necessarily gender, go beyond when somebody is making a snappy remark about something. How would you act on this one? How would you respond to that? Jan, you want to start?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great question, and having come from the oil industry, it appeared very often. And at first, I actually took part in it. I'm ashamed to say, into those same kind of jokes and things like that in the discussions. But eventually, I commented on it. And also, I walked away from those. So sometimes, people are, as you said, people are scared to open their mouth because of the ridicule they might get when they think something different. And because I'm quite outspoken about a lot of things, I get name calling every now and then. But I think, to keep it simple, for me, it is telling people when these things happen, not afterwards. Telling them right in these groups, this is not acceptable. It never was acceptable, and it certainly is not acceptable anymore. And especially because our world is getting smaller. As you said, 30 years ago, there was no internet and all that kind of stuff. People didn't travel quite so much. So you had these kind of things happening in your own circles. But and it was never acceptable, by the way. But to say they're not acceptable, and if it continues, to walk away from such conversations. I can no longer be part of these kind of conversations. Sorry. And if they ridicule you for that, so be it. But I mean, it needs to be, you need to have the courage of your convictions when you actually believe in certain things, that you stand by those beliefs and walk away.
And Maury, what about you?
I completely support what Jen says. Is having the courage to stand and embrace your values. It's um, it's really, I always preach that in order to become a man or a woman of of integrity, you have to embrace, and it costs a lot of inner work, authenticity. And when it comes the relationship between gender, by the way, very good question. As Jan anticipated before, it's so important that women and men, they do their inner work, because that's my objective in life, to break any kind of separation between even gender in terms of communication and between human beings. I do it. That's my way of serving the community, coaching men. A man empowered and man comfortable in his own skin, and man grounded will never abuse physically or verbally a woman, because he knows how to process the emotions. Most of the time, unfortunately, when there is abuses, and it happens everywhere in the world, even domestically wise, that man is not able to process and deal with his emotions. So what he does, he uses something that is very strong with the physical force. So as we go back always to the same point, it starts with self-awareness and the openness and the willingness to see the beauty in ourselves, and consequently we reflect it in others. So it's if I make mistakes, if I'm imperfect, why should I judge somebody else, if they are like me? So again, we go over any kind of separation. And let me finish saying that I firmly believe the most powerful, quickest, an amazing way to break the illusion of separation between gender, human beings, races, whatever you want to call it, is love. Love is brotherhood, sisterhood, is everything. Whatever you do, and in the amount of love we are able to give and able to receive. That's another big topic for men, being able to receive love. That goes over any kind of limitation, and we can truly, I believe we're not here to change the world, but we can have a good impact. The world is perfect the way it is. Unfortunately, with wars, that's the way it is. It's perfect like that. But if we can have an impact in the community, okay.
We have to slowly wrap up, but I want to have each of you. I want to have a quick answer to Kenneth's question from you guys, and then I want to give both of you a chance to summarize your thoughts about this topic before I give an overall big summary. Kenneth was asking, why do we humble ourselves when we visit a new country and learn their cultures, but when it is online, we start disrespecting and shaming people? I think it's an awesome question. I could say it's a keyboard warrior. It's much more easier to shoot from behind a screen and nobody sees you, and the real you might come out ultimately. It's just my opinion. What do you think, Mori? Okay, did you not hear me, or because am I gone?
No,
or is
no.
Mori gone? Okay, Jan, you want to say something?
Yeah, while Mori is hopefully getting back on. For me, that's exactly what it is. I mean, there is not much more to add to it. I think people hide behind the keyboard and they do terrible things to other people that they should not be doing, and they would not be doing if they were in front of them. And so if we don't do it when people stand in front of it, we shouldn't do it when we hide behind the keyboard. It's as simple as that.
Mori, one word, one sentence.
Just never do to others what you don't want others to do to you. That's the way
As easy as that, isn't it? You want to have some final words before we wrap up? Because I know Andrea is going to pop in very quickly. I'd rather talk a little bit more when she wouldn't pop in, but I want to be ready. Oh, there she is. Okay. One sentence, one quick wrap up from Jan, one quick wrap up from Mori before I do a little bit of a summary and then hand over to Andrea.
You have 5 minutes, guys.
We have 5 minutes. Okay, but okay. Still a quick wrap up. Well, for me, values, when you connect them to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the whole diversity scope, and there is so much more to it than most people think, because when people often think that it's just about black and white and cultures and race, but there is so much more to it. And I think we need to value other people, because people of value people. And I think so, I see it when we actually take our values on board and practice what we preach. So it's okay to say, oh, I've got values, but it's not to say, you never need to say the values you've got. Your actions will show. So when we improve our actions on a daily basis, and yes, we can make mistakes, we can fall down, but get back up again. When we improve our actions, when we start connecting with people who are dissimilar to us, and that's even in personality, we see it, not just in cultures, but personality as a behavior analysis consultant, I see that. But when we start connecting with people at the heart level rather than the head level, our lives and the world will be a better place.
Maury, one sentence, you're muted. Okay, one sentence, please.
Yeah, as just to close up, self-love, everything starts with self-love, self-awareness, self-acceptance. Consequently, there is no anymore the illusion of separation between gender and community individuals.
And I would say basically, I love the discussion we had. We could go on for hours, I believe, and especially the audience was very engaged. Sorry to the audience if I couldn't answer all your questions or ignored you a little bit. I love how we are. I think the discussion went. I think it's very important to dissociate ourselves from the media messages sometimes, to realize that people are different from what is mentioned often in the media overall. I believe very often it's important to understand ourselves. Everything starts with discovering ourselves first. And my own main point is, if we don't like something, it's about discovering ourselves. It's not about the outside world. It's starting with the inside world. Change yourself inside, and the world outside around you is going to change as well, as the moment you're starting to change your lenses coming from the inside out. Jan, Maury, thank you very much for being with me here in this awesome session. Andrea, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to share this important topic about diversity and inclusion overall. I'm just summarizing it like this, and I hand it over back to you, Andrea.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everyone for sharing and being here today. It means a lot to everyone listening to us. I think that's the main thing that we are doing here, and not just today, but even if you're rewatching this session, please appreciate the speakers, ask your questions. For the panelists, please go to the YouTube channel after you finish, and there are some questions that had been addressed through the application when they get the tickets, and there are so many questions, so you can just go and answer your from your perspectives. And now we will be heading over to another session about brain health. I'm so excited about this one, and we will be coming back. Don't forget, you can meet the speakers. Most of them are joining the networking session during the night, so hope to see you there with some games, some meditation, some networking, and all other questions from the audience. So thank you guys for today. I wish you a beautiful day with your families. Thank you for making it on a Saturday. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.